Hello and welcome back to Gubb Farm. I'm going to talk about the mistakes I've made so far when planting these hazelnut trees. The first mistake I made was not preparing the ground appropriately. I did prepare a small area around the tree. I did work in compost. I did use root dip. So I did give the trees a good start in the immediate area. But the mistake I made was not preparing a wide enough area around the tree, and more specifically breaking down the root mat that exists around the tree. So having got the trees planted later on in the year, I decided to widen the area around the tree to reduce the competition, and in removing that top layer of root mat, I exposed the surface roots. So it's left the tree a bit unstable. You can tell the tree isn't terribly happy. So I've done some harm here. So lesson one is prepare the ground beforehand. I think there's a trade-off to be had here. If you till soil, you break down the soil biology. This is something I'm reading a lot about. There's a shining light in this area called a woman called Elaine Ingham, but she's very much about the soil biology. Keep the soil right and the plant will be fine. So yeah, if you till the soil, you're going to damage the biology. But on the flip side, it is very, very hard to remove the grasses around the tree after they've gone in. So what I plan to do for the next batch of trees that are going in is I'm going to rotivate an area around the trees. I'll probably take decomposing grass and put it on top of the areas, and I know that the consequence there could be too much nitrogen, which isn't good, but only for a period of time to attract the biology underneath the tree and re-establish it again. Also, that it will give initial weed suppression. So lesson one, prepare the ground well beforehand. And on that note, when I talk to various people about preparing the ground, I was told dig out a big pit. It should be 2 or 3 times the depth of the roots and all this sort of wisdom. But when I did some test digs around here, because the ground is so heavy and it rains a lot, I would have drowned my plants, because when you dig into the clay, you create swimming pools basically. So when it came time to planting, I didn't do that at all. I got a spade, and we'll show you this later on in February. I got a spade, pushed the ground apart because it was so wet and easy worked, set in the roots into the slits that we cut, and just planted in. And the trees have taken very well, so I've no hesitation using that method again. I guess another lesson learned is I was told to use 3 stakes when preparing the ground, and that was a mistake. So I've got at least, I've probably got 600 or 700 3 stakes in at the minute. Each one costs the best part of £2, and out of the 448 trees that I planted, maybe 8 have needed some support. So that's 440 have done just absolutely fine without being staked. And the more I've read into this, it's becoming very clear. If a tree has to stand on its own, it will establish the root infrastructure to do so. If you stake the tree out, then it'll put less demands onto its root structure to support itself. So you want a strong, healthy tree, I would say so far the evidence to me is don't stake it. Now if you are going to buy stakes, there's a couple of lessons here. One, I was told to buy a good solid stake, nothing against that. And the benefit of buying a good solid stake, now when I pull them all out, I'm going to use them for fencing, because I've got various melon hedges I have to fence before the next wave of planting. But if you are going to use stakes, either get a 3 tie that is suited to the size of the stake, and this is a large 3 tie, and that's the sort of diameter that's usually meant to work with. And I believe so, unless I'm using it wrong. So get 3 ties that match the size of the tree, work with the size of the tree. And when you're positioning your tree or your stake, make sure that it is close enough to the tree. If you're wondering what this is my way of identifying the pollinators in a given row. So this is a Cosford pollinator. So you can see the problem. It's not too bad, this one, but some of the stakes are too far away. So just make sure your stakes are close enough to your tree when you are going to stake them. Now, what I've learned from re-establishing trees that have fallen over because of wind during the winter. It's not terribly complicated. All I've done is firm up the ground around the roots, and sometimes I've went as far as removing some soil and bringing the root, send the root out in the direction to provide support against the wind. So all I would say is firm up the soil, add some soil if you need to around the tree, and that generally is enough to help stabilize it. When I first put on the spiral guards, I had them so that the bottom overlapped the top, and the consequence of that was in springtime there's a lot of growth, leaf growth in here inside the spiral guard, and when the bottom overlaps the top, the spiral guard can't expand. So whenever you are putting on a spiral guard, make sure the top overlaps the bottom, and what I've observed is that as it gets pressure from inside, it will expand out. On that note about growth inside the spiral guard, about June I started to notice that there was a hot spell, there was a lot of leaf growth, and it was starting to get sweaty inside the spiral guards. And the reason I have the spiral guards on is that there are some hares around here and I'm trying to minimize damage from mammals. So what I did was I just trimmed them off, got a pair of shears and just trimmed off all the growth inside the spiral guards, and the trees, they were very happy. They didn't cause any issues that I observed. So look, there are a few lessons learned so far from working with the hazelnut trees. If you're interested in following this journey of establishing an organic hazelnut farm, taking it from planting all the way through to production and all the machine choices that come with that and all the lessons learned along the way, you know, click on that subscribe button, hit that like button, and if you press that bell you get a notification of every time I put up a video. I guess you probably already know all of this, so I should probably cut out that banter going forward, I'm not sure. But look, thank you for your time, good luck.